morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to Hands on SAP Dev with me, DJ Q Macro. This is another slightly different art and science of CAP episode in that our CAP BDFL, the lovely Daniel, is in bed, sick. He pinged me this morning and let me know, which was nice. We had a quick chat and thought it still would be useful, fun to go through the notes. Now, as you know, we have Daniel come on and take us through mind-blowing stuff, and then I try to sort of catch up and write the notes and sort of summarize and sometimes expand upon the stuff that Daniel has covered. And all this week I've been taking the time to write the notes to last Friday's episode. And at the time, I don't know what you folks thought, but at the time, I was thinking, because, as you know, as you regulars know, the first part of each episode is me sort of going back over the notes to the previous part to sort of summarize and bring our brains back, into the right context, and, especially my brain, but also, to help Daniel remember what he did last week so that he can beautifully slide into the stuff he's going to tell us about this week, etc. And I took so long to go through the notes from last week that I only gave, Daniel only had 35 minutes of the hour. And I was thinking, internally, to be honest, I was thinking, oh, great, because it means that maybe I've got less to write up for this episode. But what does Daniel do? He packs so much goodness and so much insight into those 35 minutes that actually I'm pretty sure, I'll have a look, I did a word count of all the episodes, and the notes that we're going to go through today are the longest yet, with the most detail, because it was, as all the episodes are, it was a wonderful episode. So thank you, Daniel. Get well soon. Visas, thanks for the wishes as well. Good morning, Visas. Good morning, Helmut, and good morning, Ravi and AP. Welcome, everybody. So, yeah, just to let you know, Daniel's not here, but Daniel and I did sort of think it was worthwhile going through the notes. So let me know in the chat. I'm going to switch and start sharing my screen now. Share entire desktop. Why not? Share entire desktop. There. Good morning, Matthias, another friend or another family member, another Hands on SAP Dev family member. So in fact, there we go. So what have we got on the screen here? We've got the chat, and I encourage you, because this is basically our episode this week, so we all can go through and analyze what Daniel took us through last week, using the notes, which I finally got to publishing yesterday evening. So sorry for the delay. And I've also got, as you know, I run everything in containers, and home ops is my current container context. And we can see here that the current context is home ops, which is actually over there in my electrics cupboard in the narrowboat, a little Linux box, and that's my sort of main Docker server, and I run everything there. So as you can see, I'll do that again, DPS, I've got alias to Docker. I'm running a little cap container, which is basically a Node.js, I think somewhere, work, compose files. Oh no, actually it's in git.com, qmacro, capcon image. Good morning, Javier, and welcome to you. Nice to see you again on the live stream. And Yavuz, good morning, Capiras. Good morning, Capiras. Exactly. So here I've got my little Docker file, which is basically based upon the cap base Docker file base, which is itself based upon Microsoft sort of Node.js container. So I've got that, and let's just start up our Docker attached to the cap container running. So I also this sort of I think it's actually public capcon image. This is what I did. So yeah, I think it's public. Yeah, it's public. So basically, there's no description, but I just run the build. So I have a build of every, the latest 5 versions of CAP. I've got containers running there, so I can test things in different containers. I can mount a directory and everything. In fact, have I got the inspect CAP? That full screen for a second. Let's see, scroll up here. Oh, there we go. Yeah, I've got a mount of my work volume, which is all my work stuff. So, so I don't keep everything or anything local. Anyway, so I've got stuff in there. Let's just go back again. So we'll play around with that. Let's attach to the CAP container. There we go. So I'm in there, and I'm also in this directory, cloud cap samples. So if you wanted to play along as well, you can also clone the repo in SAP samples org on GitHub, cloud cap samples. It's pretty amazing. And then, of course, you can sort of CDS run, CDS REPL, let's write it out in long form, and then run cap hire bookshop, which I think Daniel's shown before in his REPL on his screen. We can do the same. Really cool. So we can try all those different things. That sort of you are sharing thing here. How do I get rid of that? Oh, I can drag it over here. Okay, so it's in the way of my prompt there. Fine. There. Can I move that out of the way? That sort of screen sharing information thing. In fact, if I move it right, I won't go any further. Drat. All right. Anyway, that'll do. So, are we ready? Let me know. Let's go into task notes 9. There's quite a lot to get through, and I'm looking for you to also pick things out of these notes that you think might be interesting or wrong, or you want to discuss or ask questions. Anyway, let's get going. So, if you're not aware already, these notes, I intersperse them with little chapter sections or in YouTube, so you can click on this and it'll go straight to, there we go, 2646. Straight to there where Daniel starts to take over. So you can jump there to say, oh, what actually did happen in the video itself, in the recording, and jump straight to the recording. Sebastian, good morning, guten Morgen to you in Bremen. HB, Hansestadt Bremen. Is that right? Is the license plate HB? Like H is Hansestadt Hamburg and Hansestadt Bremen. Let me know. Random. So the first part of last week's episode was all about Daniel introducing us to or taking us on this journey. That's perfectly right. Thank you, Sebastian, for confirming that. To taking us on a journey to understand flattening versus nesting, both in the shape of the data that we get back, but also in the way that we construct our SQL queries. And when I say SQL, of course, you never know whether I'm actually saying SQL or CQL. So I'm going to keep that deliberately vague, but I'm talking usually CQL, of course. Good morning, Edwin. Good morning to you and welcome. Welcome. We're just going to start going through the notes to last week. And so basically, the reason I've got this prompt down here, or this thing here, so I can sort of copy this and paste that in, clear screen, bang, there. Okay, so that's what we get. To be honest, I do this also so I can sort of copy paste it into my markdown to make sure I get it right. So Helmut, I thought Helmut might comment on North Germany, the North Germany collective. Excellent. All we need now is Mark. Is Mark Teichmann from North Germany somewhere? Is it Kiel maybe, or Bremen? I don't know. I can't remember where Mark's from. Anyway, so we have this, and I think that one of the things here is it behooves us, it's important that we try and pay attention to terminology. At least I think it helps me to understand things, to organize things in my brain. So this is a prefix projection. So this thing here, ID, title, author.name, is a prefix, it's easy for you to say, a prefix projection on this, sorry, the as author is part of that projection as well, on the selection. Okay. Anyway, we'll come to that. Good morning to you, Sudarshan, in Waldorf, in sunny Waldorf, in the mothership, at the mothership. Are you at the mothership, by the way? Let us know in the campus. What building are you in? Let us know. It's quite exciting to know that somebody's joining the broadcast live from SAP's mothership. Omar, good. Hello, aus Oberneuland. I don't even know what that is. Let me know what that is. I mean, obviously in Germany. I don't know. Anyway, so we get this, and what we see with this author.name, which of course is a path expression, we see that essentially this is realized in SQL at the SQL level. Good morning, Jaloch in SAP Prague, SAP Prague. Good morning and welcome. Is that this is realized by a join, and this dot here, there, sort of gives us a clue that this is some sort of relationship. And of course, as we read further through the notes, we know that these are associations that are being followed in these paths, okay? So anyway, so we get that. And these are also called, there's a phrase that Daniel used, a forward declared join, where the author is the association, and of course because of the author, if you remember, in fact, entity books, is it there? Yeah. So the author there is an element in the book's entity, but it itself is actually defined as an association. That's what I mean there. Okay. So associations capture relationships between entities. They are like forward declared joins added to a table. And also, and Daniel pointed out, also, this is what Daniel was looking for last week. In here, from a plain SQL perspective, think of associations as the like forward declared joins, which basically means, I had to ask people internally what this really means. It means, we're expressing a relationship, we're expressing on conditions as well, sometimes, that can, should, might, eventually will be realized with a join. But we don't have to think in terms of joins. Okay, in the campus, in Partner Port. Excellent, excellent. It is Bremen. Excellent. Is that in answer to my question, where does Mark live? Okay, cool. All right, so that's that. Now, we were also talking last week about relvars from the relational model, the theory, okay? And I spoke internally to Adrian and Sebastian and Patrice about this sort of forward declared join things. Anyway, so we get that. So author name becomes a join, and we're using that as a table alias, right? So this refers to the authors table that's been joined sort of underneath. In fact, why don't we try this? Compile to SQL mode and emits, yeah, so he just types in select ID, title, author.name as author from books, join authors as author. So this author element name from the CDL at the CDS model level becomes this alias in the SQL in order to join on the, that managed relationship, that managed association, on this sort of foreign key, right? And if we think about also, let's go back to here. In fact, if I open entity books, let's just open this in a second window as well. There, so we've got this model, entity books. Let me go back there. Oh, not there. Where is it? There. So we've got this relationship going from books to authors, to one relationship, to one association managed, and this from authors, books, back to books is a too many, okay? Mark lives in, does live in Kiel. Okay, thank you, Helmut. I wonder if Mark knows we're talking about it. So that's that, okay? So, here we go, where is it? The association from books to authors is a 2-1 association. So we can actually try that out as well. Await CDSQL. This is just the other way around. We're flipping it the other way around. So let's grab that. Yeah, there we go. So what we still essentially get the same thing, just the other way around, right? So we're now, the selection is the author's relvar, or via the author's relvar, and the projection, which is a prefix projection in this case, is give me the ID of the author, the name of the author, and then follow the book's association. There, that too many association. There. And this was the point, right? Let's just see. Where? Oh, there we go. There we go. Now, and this was the point that Daniel was making. This relation is denormalized. There's the word denormalized, as in normalization is where you essentially sort of make sure the data is not, there's no redundant data. It's where it should be, and there are relations that are expressed between those things, those theirs, those places, and there's no redundancy. That's if it's normalized. Denormalized allows for redundancy. Where's the redundancy here? Look, Edgar Allan Poe, Edgar Allan Poe. We've got two of those records there, right? Now, if we wanted to have a different shape that was sort of more normalized, then we have to move away from thinking about having a path expression inside, directly inside the projection, and using this sort of postfix projection block here, nesting, not flattening. Okay, so let's think about this in terms of the shape that we're sort of going for in our brain. I might make it a little bit bigger, maybe. Yeah, okay, the shape we're going for in our brain, which is where we have authors, the relvar, and then we're saying, you know, we're almost defining, well, we are defining a new relvar, a new relation, an ad hoc on the fly relation, because of course, when you resolve this relvar, you get a series of tuples that reflect this group of attributes. Okay, remember, I'm trying to use the right terminology from the relational model. We get the ID, we get the name, and then we get the title of the book via that association. Now, notice that we've got this block here. So if we try this, let's put that there, and I won't clear screen so we can still see the data above us. What we get instead is something that's normalized, because of course here now we're saying, well, give me the authors, and then within the authors, for the authors, give me the ID, the name, and then give me the books. But within the books, give me the title as book, but in that sort of postfix projection block. Okay, so it's like, I mean, this is like, the clue is in the shape. Rather than asking for something that's flat, look at that, that is flat. There's no block there. There's no curly brace thing. This, you know, in my brain, that's how I sort of see it. But here, we've got this nesting. And in particular, we've got this nesting of the books association, the books relation. Sorry, not relation. That's the wrong word to use, DJ. The books. No, I'm going to use association, right? And as a result, how many actual outermost records do we get? We get 4, because there are 4 authors. But in the data here, we've got, you know, it's a very simple data set. In the data set, in the CSV files that get loaded, there are 2 books that Edgar Allan Poe wrote. Okay, so there are 2 books in the CSV, both of which have the foreign key value author underscore ID pointing to Edgar Allan Poe, pointing to author ID 150. And the result is, because of this nesting, we get nesting in the result as well. Okay, and as you can see, that's what exactly that is, right? Okay, so far so good. Let me know in the chat if you're still with me. Flip back to here. That's cool. Good, very good, very good. Okay, good. But let me know in the chat. By the way, if any, put in the chat if you're okay with me putting the chat on the screen, because obviously this is going to be the recording as well. So anyway, yeah. So it's lookup tables all the way down. Now this is where Daniel, of course, flipped to a level above, both sort of in intellectual terms, but also in sort of schema, or as a phrase we're going to be using again a bit later, in sort of universe of discourse terms. All of a sudden we think, well, we start to think about, well, where does this author's entity relation live? What context contains it? And the books as well, the books relation, right? And it's in the schema. And we did look in a previous episode at the schema when Daniel was in the SQLite REPL or command line. But of course, this sort of slightly made me think, wow, yeah, of course, we can actually use use SQL, construct a SQL query to actually have a look at the schema table relation in SQLite at the top level, the lookup table, right? This is what Daniel was calling the lookup table. So let's do that now. Check it out. And that's what we saw as a result, okay? In fact, this is just something I put in as well because I was sort of practicing, what's this thing where you just repeat things and you do things over and over again? A kata, a kata, K-A-T-A. So I was thinking, oh yeah, going back to promises and awaitables and thenables in a previous episode. Let's clear screen there. Let's do that. So let's do exactly the same thing, but then with the results, just show me the length. There are 35 entries in the schema lookup table. One of which, for example, the one that sort of, was almost at the end of the scroll down list that Daniel had on his screen was, randomly this localized catalog services currencies table, right? Or view in this case, right? But a view's a table, a table's a view. They're both relations, right? And what Daniel was sort of driving home is here, in the universe of discourse, this entry in the lookup table, this thing, right, is exactly what we've been having floating around in our brains. This is a relvar, right? But also really interesting, these SQL queries have the potential to become relvars, and that's what we're going to see shortly. Abdul Basit, good morning to you, long-time friend of Hands on SAP Dev and long-time friend of mine, of course. Welcome, great to see you. Great to see you, and thanks for saying hello and good morning. Good night in. Right, anyway, so universes and variables. By the way, let me know in the chat, please type something in so I can see you're still alive and everything. Let me know if these notes are useful. Hey, Vladimir's, good morning to you as well. Oh, it's fantastic to see great old friends here and new friends, of course, alike in Hands on SAP Dev. So, what are relvars? Relvars are effectively in sort of in our universe, to sort of riff on that word, in our sort of context, they're just variables, relation variables. They're variables. So let's think of something in this context, like authors, that's not a relvar, to sort of distinguish so we can understand that's not a relvar. That helps me understand better what is a relvar. Okay, thanks, Vishal. Thank you very much. And thanks for saying hello. So here we've got cds.model.definitions, right? We've got a whole metric ton of stuff there. And here, just for the hell of it, I decided to say, well, let's grab one of those, the authors, SAP Capire Bookshop authors. Let's grab that using some beautiful destructuring. Let me just make that full screen for a second. Beautiful destructuring. Authors is now that thing. It's massive. I was thinking that's a lot of scrolly, but they're authors. So did we all get what that was? Let me just do that again. Just make that huge. There, that is destructuring. We know that that's destructuring generally, but this is not a special form of destructuring. This is where we can say, I want to pull out from this lump of data, from this thing, this object that in this case is an iterable, because of course we know that linked definitions are iterables. I think we covered that in the previous thing. The name is actually this dotted name, which we can't really have as a variable, right? So we have to give it another name. And that's how you do it in a destructuring assignment. So it becomes the variable authors. That's what we did there, right? Okay, a bit smaller again. There. So we've got authors, which is that. Now, authors in this context is a variable pointing to this linked definition. It's not a relvar, even though it sort of feels like it might be or might be related to a relvar. Well, it sort of is related to a relvar, but actually when you resolve it, when you say, give me the thing behind what you are, we don't get tuples, we don't get a relation, we don't get data, we get this metadata. Oh yes, it's data, blah, 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 but no, it's not data, it's this, okay? Yeah, here we go, it says here, there's no relation, no queryable data in the relational model context, right? Okay. I couldn't resist. This is what came to my head, this pitch, this sort of meme, this Spider-Man double identity screenshot that is, used as a meme. I want to talk about relvars and queries that declare relations. Now, I put the word revisited there because we have talked about this briefly before. Okay. And what Daniel does to sort of, bring about what caused this picture in my mind with the word authors down here to sort of appear was he does this, right? By the way, I forgot to do this one, but I've been starting a bit further down in here. I've been starting to sort of put white space in so that it's sort of, you don't have to scroll left and right to see the thing. Let me know if you prefer this, because these are still runnable, copy pastable, bang, see, in the REPL. So they're still useful as copy pastable things. I think that this is when it's longer than a line that would sort of be rendered in a normal browser. Let me know in the chat whether you want me to do that generally rather than have this. So you got to go scroll over. What's going on over there, right? That scrolly thing. Anyway, let's run that. Right, let's copy that. And just let's do that sort of there. There. So what we've done is we have used CDSQL as normal to say parse this thing, parse this expression. Also, by the way, I've also started to try and be more formal and capitalize the SQL keywords. So a bit further down in the notes, I put that from would be in uppercase, right? Maybe as well, I don't know. What is that? The result of this expression, as in the cds.ql, processing this template literal, it's a query. Look, CDSQ, it's a query object. And as we know, query objects are first-class citizens. I wrote about this in another post. Functions as first-class citizens in SICP, the Structure and Interpretation of Computer Programs. Amazing lecture. There's Harold Abelson. Amazing. Anyway, so first-class citizenship is important in functional programming for functions, as in you can assign a function to a variable and pass it around and store it and pass it to a function or get a function produced by a function in the same sort of way. Queries are first class in that you can assign them to variables and also pass them to in function calls. Anyway, and also you can await them or execute them. Now, the brain expanding thing that we saw or Daniel explained. Oh, Vishal, I was reading on CapJava documentation. It has a similar thing called model reflection APIs. Exactly. Thank you. Thank you for pointing that out, Vishal. Thank you for pointing that out. Yes. That this is a query, but it's also a relvar, because when we sort of quote unquote resolve that query or say, give me the goods, what do we get? We get data because queries declare relations. And remember, the, I had a long time making this stick in my brain. When I see the word relation, I have to start thinking a table of data, right? That's what a relation is. And this queries declare relations is from the previous week, right? So yeah, it's covered there as well. Right, let's get rid of that, get rid of that. And this, check it out. So this authors is a query, right? Let's do the full screen again. Let's do that again. But we can query the query. Await, select from authors. Remember, this authors here, the lowercase a, is the oops, is this query here. Now, if that is not mind-blowing, I don't know what is. What that tells us, or what that sort of shows us, is that queries declare relations, ad hoc relations. And of course, as we might see later if I get time to cover it, this where is it? This query here, let's do that again. Let's just see the query. There's no conditions, right, in the selection. But we could quite easily, what there is the projection. We're only asking for for this particular column, and this particular sort of quote unquote column through the association. So we're not having all of the author data, like place of birth and date of birth and all that sort of stuff. So we can sort of on the fly define relations, almost like views, right? A view is a relation as well, and these queries are relations. It's like, what? Right? Um, so we do functional programming, right? A5. Well, I mean, I do like functional programming in general, and specifically as well. I think people would say that my JavaScript is sort of in that direction, functional. Um, I've got lots of stuff on. Maybe we should do some functional programming. Let me know in the chat if you fancy maybe just one or maybe two little random hands-on SAP dev episodes on, a revision of simple functional programming techniques, immutable data, sort of function chains, higher order functions, that sort of thing. Yeah. So Omar, to your point, yes, we are here, even though we're not writing any executable program code, let's call it that. A lot of the techniques that CAP is based upon are from the functional programming world, right? By the way, I just saw a heart float up there. I don't even know what that means. I think it's when you press the heart, right? When you folks press the heart. I don't really see that very much. So thank you for pressing the heart, but also stick something in the chat because that's more permanent. I can see it then. So I'm guessing that might be an answer to my question. Shall I do some functional programming stuff? So we can define a query, maybe even with, a predicate condition to say, well, where the author ID is greater than or equal to 150 or whatever, right? In fact, what's going on here? Should we do? I've got time to do that. Well, we're jumping ahead. This is why I'm sort of hesitant to do this. We're jumping ahead, but ID greater than or equal to. Well, actually, let's do that first. What are the author IDs? Await. Well, we'll just await the authors first. 102. Yeah, okay. So above 150, above 140, right? So let's just do that and say authors of Yorkshire. I was messing about before because obviously Charlotte and Emily Bronte are from Yorkshire. So if I say here, what's going on here? What? Oh, maybe I've hit home or end on my keyboard. Anyway, authors ID greater than equal to 140, say, right? So we now have this condition. in the query. Oops. Ah, see, I did what Daniel did, copy pasted the stuff on my screen. So now we can say await authors, and we only get those two authors, of course, with this nested data. But now if we say await select dot from authors, that that condition, that where condition, is baked in. It's almost like, just going back to functional programming, it's almost like this thing, this concept of a closure. We've closed over and contextualized or created sort of like a universe of discourse for this particular ad hoc relation. So, and then maybe could even say where, I don't know, I'm just going to say here, ID 170. Ooh, brilliant thing here, ID 170. There we go. Or where ID. Let's try and go for the, what was the other author? Let's do that again. Where are the authors? Await authors. Oh, hello. What? What did I do there? Run, allow, begin. I don't even know what I've done there. Oh, it's probably because I've copy pasted a load of crap. So let me get out of that and do that again. Authors. Ah, yeah, it's all this copy pasted I did by mistake. Anyway, all right, let's not even go any further because I'm wasting time here. Sudarshan, functional programming by DJ. Yes, yes, yes. Okay, cool. All right, we'll do one of those, or maybe two. I don't know. So where are we? Defining a relvar as a query. Oh, I got ahead of myself. Here we go. Defining a relvar as a query with a where clause. That's what we've just experimented with, isn't it? Right? You can have a where clause in the query and then make that a relvar by assigning it, create a relvar by assigning that query to a variable, and then use that. Views upon views upon views. Wheels within wheels in a spiral array, a pattern so grand and complex. Who can tell me where those lyrics are from and what group? Wheels upon wheels in a spiral array, a pattern so grand and complex. Time after time we lose sight of our way. Our causes can't see their effects. Very deep. Right, so here we go. Let's do this then. Yes, works of Poe. This is where I sort of went a bit off-piste. So let's do that. Works of Poe. So we're defining a query, assigning that query to a variable, works of Poe. Oops, shit, I almost knocked my tea over. And now that works of Poe is a relvar, so we can await it. Well, we can await it anyway because we're going to await the query works of Poe, right? We get that, but we can also await a new query, sort of an outermost query. Do we? Oh, there we go. Look, I'm even put. Let's do it there. Let's copy paste it. There. Let's do that. So we're now using that relvar, using that variable as a relvar, as something that points to a relation. It's almost like this. There. Look, we're titled like the something. We've got the Raven and also Eleonora, right? So just the Raven. Okay. So far, so good. So far, so good. Okay. What time is it? 8:30. Okay, we're okay. We're okay. Lazy evaluation. What did I write about here? Yeah. Okay. So this is really interesting. The whole point, again, this is another predominantly functional programming approach, especially, for example, with languages like Haskell, where evaluation is by design deliberately lazy. Now, lazy normally, has a bad, a negative connotation, but here it's a super positive connotation, i.e., there's no point in doing a lot of work up front when you might not need to do that work. That's the whole point of, that's the whole sort of philosophy behind lazy evaluation. So if you have an expensive operation, don't materialize that. Don't sort of, conjure that up and make it happen until you really need to, because you might not need to. Or in this case, right, thinking of views upon views upon views, the the bottommost view, the core around which, the kernel view, let's call it that way, to use sort of Unix architecture philosophy, what's going on, the kernel around which we have these outer layers, like the shell, for example, that is, the kernel view might be super expensive, lots of columns to retrieve or lots of columns defined in the query. But the outermost view that uses these relvars to build upon that, and the compiler will obviously work everything out, might only say, well, give me these two columns. So there's no point in materializing all the columns for all the attributes for all the tuples. That makes sense? That's what this paragraph, this section is about, and that's what Daniel's telling us there. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about terminology. In fact, yeah, I say here, but first, why don't we take the opportunity to stare at this SQL statement and practice getting the terminology right? By the way, if those who are thinking I've spelled practice wrong sometimes, I don't. This is UK English, and when you use practice as a verb, you spell it with an S, and when you use practice as a noun, you spell it with a C. And I, of course, write in UK English where I can. So let's have a look at this. In fact, let's just run as many things as we can. Bang, there, fine. And we can sort of understand what we're getting there. But let's just sort of, oh yeah, this is my question to you. Is this okay? This sort of structure here. Let's walk through this. Let's highlight that there. This query. ID name books ID title. That's a projection. Where ID is greater than or equal to 150 is a selection. What is it a selection on? The author's relation. Okay, so because we have this block here that's there, then the block ends, and then we have the where ID equals that. Now, again, this is like, you think this is just SQL basics. Yes, it is SQL basics, but for me, with my small brain, it helps just to think about what these things are, right? So ID is greater than or equals 150 is a selection of the author relation, or perhaps even more precisely, of the relation referred to with the author's relvar. We could wheels within wheels. Projections and selections are the two major operations in the relational model, as Daniel reminded us. Now, that is also a projection. So we get the what happened there? There we go. So we get this as a projection, and within that projection, we also get another inner projection for the books relationship, right? Stop using the word relationship, for the books association, right? Okay. Now, and also note that the projection is a postfix projection. Remember we talked about that prefix projection? So if we say, for example, await cds.ql select ID title from authors. Oh, sorry, title, name. That's a prefix projection because it goes before the selection. Right? Sorry, it goes before the thing. Thank you, Helmut. Thanks for the confirmation. Yeah, my brain works better with it too. Thank you. Yes. But this thing here is a postfix. If we do that, but we take these and put them in there, name, that's a postfix projection because it's post after, right? Anyway, thinking of pre and post. Oh, there's suddenly it occurred to me there's a lovely parallel here between the different phases of handlers for building custom handlers for responding to events in CAP, right? We have the before handler, pre, we have the after handler, post, and we have the on handler, in, right? Who knew? Where am I? I don't even know where I am. Yes. Okay. So let's think about what's going on there. Let's think about infix, right? Where does infix come in? Now, Daniel introduces this to say, well, we could add, if we wanted to add, books that had ID values greater than 251, so to exclude the Raven, we might think that this thing here goes there, right? But it basically, because it would mess the compiler or make a lot of work for the compiler and also confuse us and maybe be a bit ambiguous. The team, Daniel introduced this infix filter, right? So let's run that. There, look at that. And also, again, because we're nesting, we get nested output, right? There we go. So that's that. Oh, we can also, I mean, that there is like super, super terse. So we can actually even have, let's just do that. So basically some of these examples are what Daniel showed. Other examples here in the notes is what I did to sort of, try and understand it a bit more and give you a bit more context. So if we do that, we can see here that we can have a where word and also do some more stuff, right? Order by title. Now, because there's a bug, the order by doesn't quite work yet, but it will work, right? Anyway, so let's just think about closures and the universes of discourse. Authors and books are path expressions. The path part of a pathway always has to start somewhere. For example, here, what we first in fact, where's an example? Prefix or postfix. Performance. I'm not. I don't know. But I don't think. I'm going to even be bold and say, is that really? No, I'm not going to. I'm not going to say that. I don't know. I don't know what is better performance-wise. I think more importantly than performance is the expressive nature, the language for us humans, but also the shape of the data that we want in the end. Because putting it using prefix notation versus postfix will cause a flattening versus a nesting. Tell you what, let's jump through that. You can read through that one there because I just want to prove the point that this is all about closures, and the outermost closure, the outermost sort of thing that encircles is effectively the schema, right? For author, so books is enclosed by authors or closed over by authors, and authors is closed over by, the mother of all closing over things, the schema. And then Daniel uses this phrase, it's all just a path game. Okay, because the outermost where clause could also be expressed like that too. Look at that there. We've got two infix filters. There, wait, let's do that. Check it out. Anyway, let's just jump. I want to. I'm eight. I know there's 10 minutes to go, so I'm going to just skip a few of these things here because this is just me experimenting and going slightly off piste. Just to look. Well, here we go. It's all just a path game. Check out the craziness of what I do here. But the thing is, it's crazy, but it's possible because of the beautiful conformance to the relational model theory that we see CAP embodying. I mean, we get double the double output because we have books to author and then books to author again. And of course, this is a flattening here. This is the nesting. but this is flattening, okay, because it's part of the path expression. So we get that twice and then that, right? I would recommend you read this bit again and just stare at it a bit. Maybe postfix retrieves all first results, then builds a projection. This would be a great questions to ask Daniel for short helmet. Yes. So remember that for when Daniel's on next, because I'll forget it. Okay. So I know this occurred to me a long time ago, but this has brought home the importance of, or the utility of, making sure we name our, where's that? Let's just go open up part 9 in there as well, so we can look for the entity books there. Naming our elements that happen to be associations appropriately, either singular, author, or plural books, depending on whether the actual association type is a too one or a too many. That really helps me, my small brain, think about these things. We'll jump away from the distinct because not that it's not important, it's really cool. But basically, you can sort of deflatten. Is that really a word? Or distinctify. That's not even a word either, but you know what I mean. Let's do that again. There. Oops. Do that by using distinct. It's almost like, expand it and then squash it again, which, again, I don't know how the compiler works. I don't know whether that's less efficient, more efficient, but I don't care. Right? In some way, I don't care. Right. Expressing paths in the from clause. Now, this is where we move from path expressions, something dot something dot something dot something dot something ad nauseum, ad infinitum, in the selection, in the projection, to path expressions in the from clauses, as in where we're getting this from. So we can sort of move it up. So here's an example, right? And this is what, let's just run that one there. Oh, did I not copy that? Hold on, that was the same thing as last time. There. What is going on here? What is going on is our brain is going, what? What is that colon doing there? Well, the colon is basically syntactically necessary because, of course, we can have entities or names or relvars with dots in them because, of course, of the namespace and the fully qualified name, x.y.z. something. So we can't use a dot. If we did, right, if we did that, that dot books, right, like that, ID, let's just close it up like that, right, like that, it would say no such table, because what it tries to do is, of course, convert the dots to underscores and go and find an actual table or a view. It doesn't find it. So that sort of makes sense as to why we need to use a colon when we want to construct a path expression. So what's happening here? We've got the fully qualified name of the author's relvar or entity. And then we're saying, but go from the authors to the books. And again, remember, authors is plural because that's a naming convention, standard naming convention. And books is plural because of the unwritten, as yet unwritten naming convention. Make sure you have singular and plural appropriate to the type of managed association, or any unmanaged association for that matter, right? Permutation, exactly. Permutation goes through my head too, Omar. Now, so that also, I suppose, because we've got, let me do that in one line. Await CDSQL select from sap.capire.bookshop.authors : books title. That'll do title there, right? There. Now, we could, of course, also, because, do that because why? Because that is, still sort of reachable. But we can also probably use the reflected variable. The thing that we get when we do that. Bang, there, this reflected variable. Authors. Yeah. Okay. Understanding path intent and realization. 855. This is important. This is important. How can I summarize this? Basically, there's a difference between. Let's run it. This regular sort of innocent looking, and it is innocent, query, and this, where is it? Using this path expression in the from clause, right? There's a difference. We get the same data, but why do we get the same data? Because at the moment, where the data is sort of consistent and, we can follow this association. Here we're going straight to books. There we're going to authors and following that books association, the too many association, to the books. And then what Daniel did deliberately is to say, okay, I'm going to insert a new book. Robin of Sherwood was written by, what's his name? Richard Carpenter. Right? And now if we clear screen, do that first one first, we get the Robin of Sherwood. But if we do the second one second, there, we don't get it because there's no foreign key. There's, so there's nothing in, if we say here, select from authors, let's just do that. Down. Select ID, what's it called? Author underscore ID. Sorry. God damn it, DJ, you idiot. Book. Sorry, no. Authors. You'll see right. Basically, there's no author ID. Sorry, books. I'm doing it here. Books. ID from books, not authors, you idiots. There's no author ID, so we can't follow that association from authors to books because the association is on the right-hand side, as in the foreign keys on the right-hand side, etc. Right? So I've hopefully expressed that in a lot more detail there. Okay. Finally, 8:58. I've left myself 2 minutes, but this is amazing, right? We did look at this in part 7, but it was a little bit sort of part 7. And we looked at this thing here. 1 equals what is going on? We're defining a schema. So I thought, I'm going to make this work. So we've got the cloud cap samples, and then I'm going to create a file. In fact, I've already got this file. I just created it before. Let's go there. Cat schema.cds, right? We've got that, which is that. So now if I say cds repl run here, of course, schema.cds is a special file name that will get loaded automatically. And you can see here, let me make that full screen, there, from cds entity, schema. Okay, so now let's just go back here and have a reference. What's going on here? There we go. We can see here, es kann nur eingeben. Schema is a singleton, right? Schema is a top level lookup table that authors, for example, and books sort of belong to. That's the universe. Schema is the universe of discourse for the books and the authors, right? So now, if we were to say, look at that, using the path expression in the from schema to authors. There's no data. Why is there no data? Because there's nothing in schema. So there's nothing to start off to be able to go down that path expression, that managed association relationship to authors. So all we need to do is just to say, await, insert well, even nothing, that'll do, an empty sort of tuple into schema like that. And now when we do that, we get that. So when we do that, we get all the data, right? Beautiful. Thank you, Daniel. So anyway, it's 9 o'clock. I hope that's been useful. There's an appendix here about fully qualified names and reflected variables, a little bit more than that. Lots of footnotes as normal, because I do like doing footnotes. So let me know if that's been useful. We won't do a live stream next week because I haven't coordinated with Daniel, and also I've got other things to do on the Friday next week. But I'll see you online and we'll schedule another one. So happy Friday. Thanks for watching. Thanks for staying with me. And yeah, I'll see you all very, very soon. Bye for now.